Hello, my loves. I am Dr. Emma Nagy, and this is the My Lighter Way podcast. This is the ultimate self-development podcast where we'll dive deep into all things motherhood, mindset, and manifestation to create a life you are in love with. So let's dive in and get ready to expand the ripple effect you have in this world.
This episode, I feel like, is a breath of fresh air for pregnant moms. Carolina is the guest on today. She is a twin mom. She has 2 6-month-old babies right now, and she is actually a former client of mine who I supported early in the newborn stage. And it's going to be such a treat for you guys to listen, because this is what happens when you decide to embrace and enjoy motherhood. Doesn't mean you're not going to encounter any challenges, but when you have a certain mindset when you approach challenges, and listen to Carolina's today, because I especially feel like a mother of twins has her own unique set of added challenges, right? But so much of what Carolina says is truly relatable to every mom. She has so much gold in there about and shares vulnerably and openly about some of the things she didn't expect, but how when you approach things with a certain mindset, you can get through challenges quickly with less resistance and get some gold from this. So I can't wait for you guys to listen to this very fun episode. Okay, well, welcome, Carolina, to the My Lighter Way podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to see you again.
And I know. It is so exciting. And to catch up and just hear about your babies and how you're doing now is very special. So happy to have you on. Will you introduce yourself a little bit? Just share a little bit about you.
Yeah. So my name is Carolina Davila. I am originally from Brownsville, Texas, and I settled in the Woodlands, Texas. I am 27 years old, and I am a twin mom to wonderful 6-month-old babies. I'm a wife. I am a licensed specialist in school psychology. I have a master's in educational psychology, and I'm working towards completing my PhD in school psychology. I love what I do. I love my career choice. I have background in child development, identification, treatment, and management of intellectual, developmental, and mental health disorders. Sort of like you. I can do academic assessment and intervention. So, but my expertise is actually in culturally sensitive social emotional learning. So that's my professional background.
Wow. That's such important work and so needed in the world. And yeah, that's just incredible.
And I feel like it's so neat that we could relate to that. When I met you, I'm like, oh my gosh, you also have a PhD. Well, I don't have a PhD, but I'm working towards it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I feel like it's so powerful too, that you have like all this training and all of this knowledge, and you sort out support like this, because I feel like sometimes that's a misconception, of like, just because you're so well educated in a specific area, like everyone can benefit from some support at some point, right?
Everyone. I am fully in support of people just finding out resources when they need them.
Totally. Mm-hmm. Me too. It's like surround yourself with like the best supports that you can to, like everyone experiences challenges, or even just, sometimes the support is just a really nice boost to have as well. So I feel like we really connected on that as well.
Yes, for sure.
So I feel like having twins, and you're a first-time mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That adds like a whole new layer, a whole new person onto new motherhood, and maybe what you would expect going into it.
Yes.
Can you tell me about what it was like to find out that you were pregnant with twins?
Whoa. I mean, it was such a blessing. I am so, so blessed beyond what I could have ever, imagined. I wasn't expecting it. I knew it could always be a possibility because my grandmother had twins,
Okay.
but I never in a million worlds thought it would be me,
Mm-hmm.
And when we found out that, well, it's like life threw us a curveball because I was in the midst of applying for my internship for AP, my AP internship to graduate that next following summer from my PhD.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew something was going on in my body. I feel like I consider myself to be very attuned to my body in
Yes.
general. And I feel like it's sort of like, yeah, I think it has to do with my career, right? I'm used to just reading people and figuring out when something's happening and providing feedback and insight. So I'm very attuned to myself as well. And when it's so funny because I remember, I don't know if I told you this, but when I found out I was pregnant, I wasn't even, 8 weeks pregnant. It sort of was this feeling that I had. So I was on my lunch break and I told my husband, let's just go to the pharmacy and get a pregnancy test. And it was sort of like a joke between us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, haha, imagine if we really were. And we're like, there's no way. Turns out I was.
Wow.
Then, it turns out I was pregnant with two.
Yeah.
Yep. So it was the most beautiful experience. I mean, I just cried my eyes out when I found out, when I heard the two heartbeats, we could hear them, at that time. It was just so, so special. I was with my husband. They allowed us to be in the room because during that time there was still the COVID, restrictions and guidelines and whatnot. But it was just beautiful.
Aww.
And I was kind of amazed at how accurate I was because then I also had a feeling, I'm feeling very, very sick. So what if I have to? Or what if there's more than
interesting. So you had that thought before you went in for your first ultrasound.
And I have evidence. Like I remember I told one of my close friends, I'm like, I feel like there might be more than one. And we're just joking about it. But then after I realized that there was in fact two, I went back to her and I'm like, do you remember when we had this conversation? She was like, that's hilarious. Yes.
Wow. So you were just so intuitive and so in tune with what was happening from the beginning. Yeah.
Yes. So although we were surprised, I always, I know that God's plans are always better than we could have imagined. And so I was just open to it. I was grateful. I was happy. And I said, you know what, there's always going to be time to do your professional work, take a break, and let's just focus on this new phase and this new stage of my life.
So is that what you did during your pregnancy? It's like you pulled back from your career or from your education?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not going to say it was easy. It's because you're changing your routines, you're changing your focus. So it can be a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
But I feel that when you let go, right, and you let God, there's just so much freedom in that, I feel.
Yeah. So what was that process like for you? Because I feel like, that's something, especially I feel like in the self-growth, personal development space, you hear quite a bit. It's like trust and surrender, it's like that idea, but putting it into practice isn't always easy, right? Do
Yep.
you have any even advice for how, or like looking back on your own journey, what was like your thought process around that? Or what did you, I guess, do or shift to let go and like feel that freedom because of it?
Yeah, I feel, I it's not linear. I feel that you sort of, like you said, you have a knowledge, you have the knowledge of it, you understand the concept and you practice it professionally. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're having to deal with it, it's a whole different thing, you know?
Totally. Yeah.
So, um, yeah, like I said, I was in, I sort of consider myself to be in constant growth.
Mm-hmm.
And as new things come up in my life that I need to work on, I am excited because I feel like there's always something that you can improve on,
Mm-hmm.
which I find exciting. But
Mm-hmm.
when I started my PhD, I knew I had to make some shifts. So going before I was pregnant, I knew I had to make some shifts in my lifestyle. Um, I remember first year, I was still trying to live my old lifestyle. And I remember it was, I went to San Antonio where I went to college, and I was going down there to celebrate Halloween with my college friends. And then I realized I had a final for my therapy class, and I underestimated the amount of time it would take to complete it. And I just knew at that moment when I failed majorly in that class, and not in the class, but in the exam. And it was like sort of this reality check where I understood that I needed to make lifestyle changes.
Mm.
And then once I realized again that I was going to become a mother, it was sort of, I feel like there's this natural disposition to hold on to what we have and control and take control of our lives, but sometimes we just need to let go.
Mm.
um you know
I love how you
Otherwise you're
framed
just stuck.
that.
And so when I realized I was a mother, or I was going to become a mother, um I was still holding on to that version of myself, which I think caused a lot of unnecessary burden on myself. And
Mm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But, with every new phase in life, I feel that I can learn to adapt better and better each time. And when I became a mother, I guess I realized again, this is another stage of my life where I need to make some changes. And that, I guess that's where you and I met.
Yes.
And I realized I needed to make some changes.
Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, I love your whole, I guess, mindset and approach to even like challenges in life. Feel like, yeah, you bring in this layer of excitement to challenges, which many people don't hold, but I feel like that can help you move through them so much more quickly. Um,
I feel like I'm very solution focused, and I think that's part
mm,
of the work that I do, right? When I have a client, I'm like, what's the solution? There's always a solution. There's so many resources out there.
totally. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so as soon as I find out there's something I can improve on or I need to do, it's like, let's take action.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, let's just do it. And actually, even how you and I met, it was so like quick and instant. Like we connected right away. And I feel like, yeah, we can get into that, but it was just
Yeah.
so cool to see you in action and in that mode, right?
Yeah.
Like in
Yeah.
that solution mode. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I want to back up just like a little bit, like to before we met, because we met when you had your babies. And I'm
Yes.
curious about your pregnancy experience and like how you prepared yourself to become a mother of twins, how you prepared yourself for the newborn stage, and like being in the psychology field, you know what the newborn stage can bring up. So was there anything you did mindset wise or, like what were the ways you prepared?
Well, I feel that nothing could prepare you, right, for the real thing. But when you realize that you're going to become a mother, there's just so many things you think about. I decided that I was just going to flow through it. I felt that it was going to be this wonderful season in my life, and I embraced it, even though there were some major lifestyle changes that I was going to have to get prepared for. I made the decision to just enjoy it. And I think it's so powerful when you just make the decision. When, even though, you're feeling all these things, you're feeling, yes, this and that. But when you decide, I feel like it's a powerful moment, because I don't know, it's kind of like a command, and they just do. So I was like, I'm going to embrace this moment. I'm going to enjoy it. And first trimester was really tough. I had all the pregnancy symptoms you could think of. I tried to find any remedy under the sun. I was laughing the other day because I found I had these acupuncture wristbands that you could wear.
Oh, yes. For the nausea?
For the nausea.
Yes.
And I wore those things all day because I was so nauseous. And part of it is because, there were two. So
yes,
I learned that you get so many symptoms, and it's just everything, but twice.
Yeah. Oh man.
But yeah, so I was just feeling so tired, but even with that, I made it a decision to feel good about it. And now that I look back, it's funny. But I also had trouble feeding myself because everything made me nauseous, and I wasn't hungry much, and I was averse to many foods. So I remember my nutritionist gave me this smoothie, and that's what I would have for breakfast every morning, even though, I wasn't hungry. And then the other day I was in my pantry and I found the oatmeal that I would always use. And it just sort of brought this beautiful feeling, like, wow, like when you're going through it, you're in the midst of it. So you feel like it's going to be endless, but then,
yes,
wow, it just happened not so long ago, and it's already a memory. So I feel like there's also comfort in knowing that. So for mothers that are not having the most perfect or experience right now, just knowing that it's not going to be like that forever, I think it's a comfort to know that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And lately, when I've seen these things popping up from my pregnancy, I feel like it's God kind of giving me some humor and joke in it. Like, remember when you were going through this? Well, this is, it's you're past that and you're fine, and things are looking great now. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then second trimester, I was great, I was enjoying, and then your third trimester, things start kicking in where you're just nesting like crazy. And second trimester, my husband and I were like just having fun. And then third trimester was like, whoa, where are we going to live? And what about the room for the babies? And at that time, I didn't have, we didn't own a house. We were just living in the city in an apartment and living, that partner life.
Yeah.
And so that's where all the changes started happening, where we purchased a house,
Wow.
we purchased a bigger car, and you start nesting like crazy, and
Mhm.
these hormones start kicking in where you feel like you need everything. And then now looking back, I'm like, probably wasn't necessary to do all these changes, but I understand and I give myself grace at that time because I didn't know what was going to happen. And yes, nesting is a real thing, and I'm sure you know. So
Oh, totally. Yes. Got that
you start,
strong instinct to do that as well.
right. So now I have all these products that probably I maybe used once or twice, and they're just stored away because I didn't really. So really, you don't need much, but you
Feel like you do. You're like trying to get everything in order so that, yeah, so that everything's all ready.
yes.
Yeah.
So I would say to mothers, do not feed into the whatever people are saying. You need this. You need to buy this $2,000 stroller. You need to do, no, just,
It's true. Like simplify and streamline to what you truly will need. And to find that out, it's so helpful to also talk to other moms, right? To
yes.
find out what is actually useful and what's just like good marketing, right? But like maybe
Right,
not
really good
needed.
marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I feel, yeah, you had some major changes then with buying a house and everything. Like that is a major life change. And then having your babies. And I can
Yeah.
totally see where a nesting instinct would have, you know, kind of sparked those desires in you to like have a home for your babies. So
And at that time in the US, the housing market was crazy. I mean, you could
mm,
not get not even a viewing of a house because it was already sold 2 days in the market in. So I don't know how it is in Canada, but
it
it's
was
already,
it was crazy for a while.
yeah,
Yes.
it's already slowed down.
Yeah.
But, so that was an added stressor
Right.
for sure.
Right. It's like the extra stressful time to buy the house.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, let's talk about the newborn stage and like welcoming your babies in. What was that time like for you?
Whoa. Well, it was a shocker, and
Hmm.
an absolute shocker because I underestimated how much work motherhood is. Granted, I had two of them and I was a new mother. So I'm just going to be honest. I
Yeah.
felt blindsided. I
Hmm.
felt like all these mothers out there didn't tell me what the real deal was.
Right. I feel like
Um,
that's such a powerful statement.
mhm.
What did you feel, if you're able to pinpoint, like what did you feel blindsided by? Like what do you wish other mums would have shared with you to so that you weren't blindsided?
I feel, and this is, I think this is a major, a more systemic problem, but I feel we only want to share the pretty parts of our life in
Mm,
social media. And there's this guilt, or where mothers they can't be vulnerable, they can't be open, they only share the good sides of it because they're scared they may be judged, I think.
mm, mm-hmm,
And part of it, I think that's what it is, where I only saw the beautiful, the pretty videos, the good comments from moms, because I mean they're good intentions, right? They're
mm-hmm.
good intentions, but I feel, and I was sort of that person when I became a mom. I wanted to be vulnerable and open about my experience so that other moms feel that it's to normalize it, that it's okay to feel you know, all these other emotions.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's sort of what happened. And I was like, how come y'all didn't tell me what it really is? And
Right.
you hear about it, but I think you also feel like you've done hard things yourself, and I'm sure everybody has done hard things themselves, but you sort of compare it to that, and it's not, you can't, you just can't compare it to that.
Yeah.
And
It's like a level of feelings that most of us have not felt before all at
yes,
once. And just the feeling, for me, what surprised me the most, because I expected the tiredness aspect to be hard and to feel drained. I didn't know what it would feel like in my body
yeah,
until I was in the newborn stage myself, because
yeah,
obviously sleep is so valuable and impacts
vital, yeah,
everything, like our ability to function, even like our emotions, like our ability to self-regulate, our ability to heal. Um,
yes,
and for me, that was one of the things that I knew it would be difficult, but I didn't know what it would feel like. And same as like the
right,
level of emotions that would
right,
just be like coursing,
yeah.
coursing through. So do you feel like if you knew about, the different feelings and different emotions that can come up, that it would have made it a little bit gentler on yourself?
Yes, and I feel like I didn't focus on that as much because I felt I was feeling good in my pregnancy, that I didn't. Yes, you hear about it. You hear about that you're not going to sleep. And of course, you hear it's like this joke that everybody mentions it to you. Oh, sleep because then you're not going to sleep anymore.
Right.
Oh, right. But you don't
Right.
understand it until you're going through it. And I remember first month my husband and I wouldn't get any ounce, of sleep. It was just, but granted, I had two babies. So yes,
Yeah.
it quickly took a toll on me. And that's where, like I said, I'm very solution focused. That's where I knew I needed some help. I needed some
Mhm.
support. And that's where you and I met. And I know that it was God, because it was just so random how we met. It was through the Explore feature on Instagram.
Is that how you found me?
Yeah. And
Wow.
I remember I looked, and I think it was you were on a video, and I immediately felt comforted and at ease with your energy, and I knew God had placed you in my life, in my path,
Oh.
because I was I was freaking out. I really was. I was like, what is this?
hmm I felt
But
I felt this, like I didn't know that that's how you found me or connected. And I just got chills as you were saying that. And I felt like things just clicked and happened so quickly and effortlessly with you, that it was like divine timing and just the
mhm,
perfect connection at the right time.
mhm.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I mean, you do this, that's what you specialize in. But I feel like when the first time we spoke,
hmm
I had this just different energy. I was just completely terrified and scared for my life. And I
hmm
remember a couple of weeks in, or we reconnected, and you mentioned it, how my energy had shifted and changed. So it's so
It
amazing to see that.
it was wild to witness. It was very cool. So for people listening, and um, share as much as you are comfortable with, Carolina. But when we first started talking, you were like, I didn't expect to feel this way, to I was so happy in pregnancy. I had no clue that things could shift in this way. And you're like, this is not the experience that I want to have. And like, you did set such a strong intention, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I never want to be that person that wants to scare people, or and this is just my story, and it's by no means trying to scare mothers. Like, that's not what it is at all. And I feel, and it's so true, that every motherhood journey is so unique, because yes, I was going through this, and I needed more support than maybe my friend who just had a baby, and she's rocking it, and that's awesome, but this is meant to be a comfort. But yes, I think the first thing I realized was that it took a toll on my mental health, meaning, I was not, like you said, sleep is so, so vital. You just underestimate how much lack of sleep impacts your overall well-being. And I pretty much had no time to wind down. And granted, again, I had two. So I know mothers that had only one, and they have more time to relax, or they can sleep when the baby sleeps. But when one was sleeping, the other one was usually awake, and I was trying to breastfeed both of them. So that would just take a big chunk of my day. I was sitting basically in my living room all day long breastfeeding. Mm-hmm. And so I realized, and I remember that's when I reached out to you, I knew that just my life had changed drastically from one day to the next. I remember day before I was in the hospital, I was walking, I went to Target, I was getting some of the last minute things. So this is going to be a funny story, but this is just a new mother thing. But I remember I packed my hospital bag, and I had my Kindle, because I was going to read, right? Supposedly, I thought I was going to read.
In the hospital?
In the hospital. Like, I was like, well, when the babies are sleeping, I can just read. Right. And my husband took his work laptop, and he's like, I'm going to do some work while the babies are sleeping. And of course, I took a selfie stick for the photos, because I was going to record, how there's those funny videos out there where you're just like recording before the baby comes. And
mm-hmm. Of course, I love this so much.
I didn't even open my hospital bag. I brought my makeup and my mother.
Carolina, yeah, I totally did the same thing. And I even packed essential oils, and my hospital bag stayed in the car.
Exactly. It wasn't open. I brought my pretty PJs. No, I was just wearing the hospital gown. It was just a complete disaster, but in the best way. I was just so funny. And my mom, she saw me walking out, and she was just laughing with my dad. She's like, probably has no idea what's coming. I have a recording of myself dancing Bad Bunny before going to the hospital. I was just vibing.
I love it.
Then bam, second day, no sleep. What is this? It was just a complete shocker for me.
Yeah.
So, yes. So like I said, I'm very attuned to myself. And when I realized, hey, this is not going the way I had imagined or envisioned for myself, that's where you and I met. So,
from your perspective, can you share a bit about even your experience with us working together, and what that started to shift, or what that process was for you?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I immediately felt connected, and I felt like you sort of have this gift, and it's a gift to sort of align to what people are going through. So I feel you understood me immediately, and I felt a lift go out of my body, because somebody understood me. And you are incredibly sweet. That was just my immediate impression of you, which you are. And I feel like your feedback and suggestions really help me immensely in my process. So having an outlet where you could just tell someone what you're going through, what you're thinking, and what you're feeling throughout the day is so vital. It's so important. Mm-hmm. And yes, you do have your support people, right? Your friends and stuff, but I think it's so different. And that's what makes you so unique, because this is your expertise. This is what you do. And you're having a friend, you can tell your friend what you're going through, but then you don't want to keep bothering her, right? Because you understand that she has other things she's going through or are happening in her life. So we kind of hold back to really just sharing because we don't want to bother. So having you be interested in what I was going through throughout my day was so, so, so helpful. So I'm a firm believer that even though you're doing great, having you is so necessary. Like having someone that you can just share during your postpartum phase, because things come up, and having someone, a third person, just taking a look at your thoughts and your emotions and providing some suggestions and insight was really, really helpful. Your grounding techniques, I remember sometimes I was doing fine and I would tell you I'm doing great. And then another moment I was just, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. And you would just say, okay, you were just on it. And you were so great at identifying, okay, this is what you're feeling. This is what you're going through. And when you're going through this, tell yourself this and step 1, 2, 3. So you were very concrete in your suggestions, which I loved. Mm-hmm. And you offered awesome resources. I remember you gave me some YouTube meditations and resources that were actually available and accessible, which I love, and like I said, I think it's so great that I found you. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing all of that. And there are so many incredible things about working with you. One was like your empowering intentions that you set right from the beginning. And I don't know if you remember this, but at first we were going to work together for, I think, like 3 weeks. And after 1 week, you're like,
yes, I'm on it. I'm good.
Yeah.
So powerful.
So powerful. Like the shift within you, like, yes, I gave you, tailored strategies, but you are so in tune and so intuitive that you were also you pulled out so much from within yourself. I think even just through our conversations and even you sharing, the process of sharing, I feel like you gained so much insight about yourself, and you got to see your thought patterns like out on, out on text, or like we would do a voice chat. And that process can be so healing too, because you are so powerful, right? Like you have so much within you to bring you up to where you wanted to be. And you were just on it, which is also incredible to have made that space for yourself in a time where, yes, you're not getting sleep and your time and your energy is being poured into these 2 new babies. So that you prioritized yourself is really, really incredible and not easy to do. Yeah.
And I think part of it was that you provided that space. And I remember when I wasn't, maybe I hadn't checked in, during the whole day, you would check in. So, and I think that's you providing that space really made a difference, right? Because at that stage of your life, you're so busy, and it can be easy to forget that you need to check in on yourself and not just be in auto survival mode.
Right. Like take that few seconds for yourself, to check in with yourself and see how you're doing, and then, connect and share. And I feel like the goal at the end of the day, the goal at the end of the day is for you to feel like more calm and settled in like where you are, and to be able to meet your intentions, which were to enjoy this phase, right?
Yes.
And you got to get back to that much
Yeah.
quicker, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since then, I would love to know like what you have been up to and how you've been and how you're doing now.
So much better. It's so awesome now that my babies are sleep trained. We waited 6 months to sleep training them. And I think that was way too long, because I know that you can start around 4 months. I mean, it just depends on what your pediatrician recommends. But before the 6 months, I was just, if the babies would cry, I would go to them and I would cuddle them and then rock them to sleep. But as soon as we hit 6 months, we made a decision that it was best for the babies also to learn, sleep hygiene and how to self-regulate. So now they sleep from 6 to 6. So at 5 o'clock, we start our nighttime routine. And then by 6, they're down, and they don't go down. We don't rock them to sleep. We put them in their crib and they fall asleep on their own, which is great. So I now have some downtime for myself and with my partner to connect and wind down and make dinner. And I know that I remember you reassured me that I would get more time for myself. And that was a major, I was terrified because I thought I wouldn't have any more freedom in my life. And I came from having lots of freedom in my lifestyle to having practically none during my postpartum phase. But like you said, it will pass. And it did. I did pass.
Yeah, that's so good to hear that, you're able to fit in some of those things, even from like your previous life, like before you're a mom, and bring those into the now. And when you're so in the newborn stage, and for you, I don't have twins, but I know for you, like having 2 babies, that's just, it's like more, right? More time, more energy.
Yeah.
So to be able to invite that in, bit by bit, and then now you're at a place where you feel like you do have some time for yourself. I'm just so glad for you that you're able to experience that.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I think it's a season. And then I feel like now I'm in a new phase in my life for sure. And
a new phase of motherhood. That's the thing I find. It's like, it's not just like the newborn stage and then that's it. I feel like we think of the newborn stage as such a distinct time, and it is for sure, but there are always like little shifts and changes along the way, even beyond that, right? So
yes. And I remember you told me you will find your groove, you will find your routine, and you really do. Except, when you're during those first days, there is no routine because the babies are just
they're not on a routine.
They're not on a routine
at that stage. No. Yeah.
So it's so liberating.
Yeah. And sometimes just knowing that and having a glimpse ahead of what it could be like, especially, as a first-time mom, it's like helpful to have those little reminders and just like that glimmer of light in the times where it is more difficult to see.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Carolina, for coming on today and talking to me. It has been like such an honor hearing your story and your journey, and just like seeing you thrive and your babies thrive.
Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you for inviting me.
So for anyone who wants to reach out to you, Carolina, like maybe if there's a twin mom or someone who resonated with your story today and wants to connect further, where can they find you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram, caro.dav. Otherwise, you can email me, cdavila12@tamu.edu.
And I'll put those in the show notes too, so that they're all written out for people.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. Thank you so much.
If you are pregnant right now, I have something incredible for you to help you envision your empowered motherhood. It is a guidebook where you are the author because you get to write your own story. I feel like it's so powerful when you're in pregnancy to envision motherhood and what you want it to look like, how you want it to look and feel for yourself, right? Because from that place, when we have that clarity or just that idea, right? Even that idea of that feeling that you want to get, or like the main pieces that you're excited about when it comes to motherhood, when you start to have clarity on those things, it kind of sets the tone for what you want to happen, how you want to feel, and what the whole journey gets to look like for you. And I feel like those types of things are so amazing to anchor into in the challenging moments. So I love to, encourage moms to think about this in pregnancy, like envision your empowered motherhood in pregnancy and set yourself up for success in the newborn stage and beyond. And this is all by tapping into you. So this guidebook includes 5 expansive questions for you to tap into yourself to pull out from your higher self what your empowered motherhood looks like. And starting in pregnancy, right? So go to the show notes, click the download, it's completely free, and you will receive the guidebook in your email.
Thank you so much for listening. I would love to hear how you felt inspired in today's episode. Let me know at MyLightAway on Instagram. And to help me expand the ripple effect of this podcast even more, please subscribe, leave a rating and review, or share it with a friend who loves self-development too. Thanks, my loves. I can't wait to hear from you.